What's up there? Welcome back to Ember Productions. I am Maxwell Haddad, the M.
I am Amber Coates, the Burr.
We are here today to talk to you about the brand new MCU show on Disney Plus, Miss Marvel. This show just premiered yesterday, Wednesday, June 8th. We know that this show is sort of working as a setup for The Marvels, a film coming out next year. That's the sequel to Captain Marvel, being directed by Nia DaCosta. And although it's a sequel to that film, we also know that there are going to be a couple new characters introduced, such as Kamala Khan, who is the main character of Miss Marvel. Right off the bat, oh, and by the way, we are going to be talking spoilers, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, go watch it and then come back and check out what we have to say. It's not really a spoiler-heavy episode. It's very much a pilot, very much an origin story. Yeah. But as I was saying, right off the bat, I am immediately taken by the style of this show. It is directed by Adil and Bilal, who sort of burst onto the Hollywood scene with Bad Boys for Life. Basically one of the last hit films to come out before the pandemic. Previously, they had done films called like Gangsta and Black, that were in Arabic and French and Belgium because they are from Belgium. And they are not playing around. They bring a sort of... This show is a coming-of-age show. Our main character is 16, and she is obsessed with the Avengers, as, you know, we kind of are, and many other of you, you guys probably are who are watching this, except in this world, the Avengers are real.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, to see a 16-year-old girl who is Pakistani American with very, very, you know, strict cultural, you know, upbringing, all of that. I've seen so much about representation, and let me just tell you, I love to see representation, especially in someone who is super, super huge into basically one of my favorite female superheroes, which is Captain Marvel. And I love her. If you don't, sorry about it. I mean, she's just amazing. And to see this girl, Kamala, she just like literally exudes this love, and she's like all of us that are outside, like looking in. And then she gets sent a piece of jewelry from her grandmother that gets her in. She's past the window suddenly.
She is so much one of us that she has her own YouTube channel. Yes. She makes content and sort of video essays and animations about the Avengers multi-part series. And as I was saying,
she calls herself the Sloth.
It's really cute. As I was saying, like, the style of this show is so on point. There's a use of sort of like very animated comic book interstitials. There's like a pacing and a vibe to it, the music selection. I don't want to use this as a way of impugning or insulting previous Marvel directors, but it is clear that these guys were given free rein to sort of over-stylize it and really get you into the head of Kamala, so you are really feeling what it's like to be a sort of ADHD 16-year-old girl obsessed with superheroes who all she wants to do is go to Avengers Con, right? So, obviously, based on a comic book, I have the first trade paperback here, and one of the things in Miss Marvel, also, if you played the not that well received video game The Avengers, I don't know if that was last year or the year before, the main character there is also Miss Marvel, and that game starts very similar to this show, wherein all she wants to do is go to AvengerCon. The game plays very differently than this pilot episode, but so much of this is not about superheroics. It's not about powers. She doesn't really get her powers till the end, which, as Amber said, through a bangle that she's given as a gift. It's really about her struggle with her identity in opposition to what her parents want from her.
And something that's very important about that is that, her mom mentions the fact that she can't go as Captain Marvel because she doesn't want her to wear a skimpy outfit. And last I checked, Captain Marvel is fully clothed head to toe. Every part of her except for basically her head, and sometimes even that is covered. And I was like, what part of this is skimpy? And the funniest moment is she and her dad, so the mom and dad, bust in, and they decide they're going to send the dad as Big Hulk and Kamala as Little Hulk. And it's so cute, but also so sad because Kamala doesn't want to do that. She wants to do her thing, and we forget that sometimes when we're super exuberant about things and our parents want to do stuff with you. I remember being a kid and hurting my mom or hurting my dad, not thinking about it because I did something like that, and you could see it. You could see it on his face. Like mom is upset because she made this beautiful costume. Dad is crying, and it's like, oh, and he's just trying to bond with his daughter. And I mean, you really honestly have to love her brother, Amir. He's really honestly the only one who kind of gets it. And even though he's very, he is very religious, he's praying, and like that's one of the main focal scenes of the show. He takes a lot of this very seriously, but he also takes his sister seriously. And I think that that's a really good thing to see, because so much in this kind of, this trope, you see the whole family saying, no, you really shouldn't be doing this. And realistically, for what we do as a culture, like, this fandom culture that loves superhero movies, anything that has to do with them, like, to see him accept her for who she is and try to show her parents, it's really cool. I also like her friend Bruno. He's fun. And we do talk about Bruno here.
Yeah, we do. The relationship between Kamala and Bruno is really sweet. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because I sort of felt like Bruno might have interest in more than just a friendship. But one of the things that Amber mentioned, and one of the things that I found so striking about this pilot is, you talked about representation. And although I'm not Muslim, my family is from the Middle East. My dad is Syrian. I have so many cousins, my grandparents, who are not with us anymore, but I grew up in a very Middle Eastern household. Although we're Jewish, and I can't 100% speak to the authenticity of this. Of course, there is a level of artifice, because it is, at the end of the day, a superhero TV show. It feels like within its own context, it has a certain authenticity. I feel like I know this family. I know her mom and dad. I know the struggle that they have of wanting her to be the best that she can be, but only in the box that they have for them. There's a scene where Kamala and her mom are going on errands, and they have Kamala trying on a dress, and her mom runs into a friend, and they're talking about a girl who wants to go backpacking for the summer, and they're talking about what a shame this is and how much of an embarrassment it is. And that really, I think, helps give insight into Kamala's mom and how she views these notions of living in the clouds and chasing after your fantasies. And this is a sort of a line of thinking that is repeated at the end of the episode. So, jumping ahead a little bit, Kamala sneaks out of the house. She goes to AvengerCon. She gets to compete in the Captain Marvel cosplay contest. She puts on the bangle. Her origin story comes to life. She gets her powers. She wins the contest, we assume. Although there's a mishap and she sort of has to save the day. And what's an interesting wrinkle here is the person she saves is the popular girl at school who was sort of bullying her, who's also there in a Captain Marvel outfit. But after she gets back home, after sneaking out, her mom is waiting for her in the room, and they have this really poignant conversation about living in the clouds and living in fantasy versus setting your goals and achieving a more realistic approach. What I'm so taken by about the show, aside from the wonderful style, aside from how absolutely winning Iman Vellani is as Kamala, she is so charming, so effervescent. She's going to be a great lead for this show, is how this is really just a coming-of-age show that just so happens to have superpowers. Now, we don't know how the next few episodes are going to shake out. They could introduce a villain. There could be big epic fights. But I like that this kind of feels maybe a little like Netflix's Never Have I Ever. It reminds me of some of the, shows I used to love when I was younger. Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Charmed. It has that energy, that youthful energy that I think is really going to help set it apart from all the other Disney Plus shows we've got thus far. And this is something you've talked about a lot, so I'll let you talk about it, but it's increasingly clear that one of the things the MCU at large is doing is building up a stable of young Avengers.
Yes, the young Avengers are coming, and it's amazing. And, we've seen it all throughout the TV shows that we've gotten since the beginning of 2021. Starting with every piece, we're seeing young Avengers everywhere, including but not limited to, Spectrum, because I believe that she is one of them. That would be Tiana Paris's...
who's also going to be in the Marvels.
Yeah, and she's going to be in the Marvels.
Right, I think those are the three Marvels. Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Spectrum, if that's the moniker she takes.
Exactly, because Spectrum goes also as Photon, and at one point she is Captain Marvel.
Yes.
And I mean... We never know. There's also multiverse play. We did see a Captain Marvel, another inter-multiverse Captain Marvel.
Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
We have Wanda's kids.
Yep.
Theoretically, Peter Parker himself is young and could be a young Avenger. And so the notion of, I desperately, and you have to assume it's going to happen, I feel like Kamala and Peter on screen together are going to be magic. They're going to have such great nerdy energy. And speaking of...
I have something for this.
Please.
I want to go ahead and say there's something absolutely beautiful, and I have a feeling you're about to touch on this, and if you are, great minds. Do you guys remember Wong for Wong? When Benedict Wong and I think it was Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yes.
And they were going back and forth, and Benedict Wong wanted into Doctor Strange so bad, and nobody had been announced for Wong. And somehow he magically campaigned and then got to audition, and he got it. And then the same thing happened with Tom Holland. Dressed up as Spider-Man, doing the whole thing, ended up as Spider-Man. Iman Vellani dressed up as Miss Marvel, only within the last 2 years, maybe? And now she is Miss Marvel. And you'll love to see it. Manifest your shit, kids.
It is so clear from, her red carpet interviews and anything she does that she, honestly, other than the superpowers, is her character. She has an intense love for superheroes and for Marvel and for the MCU. I saw someone say, I'm not sure who, that if every actor in Marvel, in the MCU, were to compete in an MCU trivia contest, she would probably win.
She probably would, and she could probably hold her own with a lot of people that we know.
And I think that energy permeates through her performance and infects the entire show, because this show, I wasn't crazy about Moon Knight. I liked some of it. I didn't like some of it. I've generally enjoyed all of the MCU shows to varying degrees thus far, but this is, to me, maybe the best pilot that any MCU show has had. What I was going to say before, though, is, speaking of Spider-Man, there is a mid-credit scene where we see Arian Mayad's character from Spider-Man No Way Home. He works for the Department of Damage Control. In the beginning of No Way Home, when Peter and Ned and MJ and Aunt May are first taken in...
He's the one who takes the costume.
He's the one who takes the costume. He's the one who's interrogating them. It felt like a character they were setting up for additional appearances. To see him here in Miss Marvel is really cool and interesting. Obviously, this is also taking place in the New York area. And so that's a really cool tie-in. We could maybe see this character becoming a new sort of Coulson or Wong in terms of someone who appears as a through line for a lot of different MCU projects. And that's sort of where we leave this episode. The Department of Damage Control wants to bring Kamala in, see what's going on with her powers. There's no villain. There's no real cliffhanger. So that's why I'm starting to think maybe this really is just going to be focused on the coming of age, and that could be really delightful.
I mean, I think we might have... There's always some sort of struggle. Coming of age requires a struggle.
Yeah.
And, I mean, sometimes you need, an anti-hero more than a villain.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to mention that the other DODC agent with Cleary was played by Alicia Reiner, who was actually, she was on Orange is the New Black as, I believe, the superintendent of Litchfield. And I love her. She is wild. We love to see Orange is the New Black people doing great things because, you know, that show went off the rails at some point.
It did.
But I'm excited from the get-go. We actually were not really paying attention to the main title card, and they were very important because it was literally a YouTube video that Kamala made. And, like, I was like, we have to rewind that. We have to watch that again.
Yeah.
Because it's all comic book. It's got, like, she did paper things. It was so neat, and I loved it. It was so collagey and cool, and that's the kind of thing that I would have done in high school. So I fully vibe with this girl so much already.
After the horror of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, after the emotional turmoil of WandaVision and Moon Knight, I think this is the, like, burst of fun and colorfulness and pop art and youthful enthusiasm that we need in the MCU right now. It has an optimism and, like, a bright-eyed quality to it that I think is going to be really, really exciting to watch over the next few weeks.
Frankly, it feels like what they wanted What If to be, that it kind of fell short for us because of the writing.
Maybe.
And I don't hate What If. I would probably watch it again. I think I can visit it with new eyes now that we've seen some of the characters in true life. But, I mean, it has so much life to it.
Yeah.
It's vivacious. It's fun. So definitely, if you stick with this, I think this is going to be amazing. It's going to be as good as a certain other Disney Plus series that we were very surprised about that happened to have laser swords and Sith Lords.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel necessarily about both of those shows airing at the same time on the same day.
It hurts a lot, guys.
It makes it very difficult if you want to stay up and watch them. But anyways, I think this first episode of Miss Marvel Generation Y is an absolute triumph. I am incredibly excited to see where the next few weeks of this go. We will be back every week with a relatively short spoiler breakdown of our thoughts. There may be more elements to spoil going forward. This wasn't a plot-heavy episode. This was about tone and mood and character.
World build.
And it succeeds in all of that. Iman Vellani is a star. Go and watch this show, guys.
And we love a really, really beautiful New York skyline from the other direction.
That we do.
Because we get to stare at the same thing in reverse.
That we do.
Yeah!
Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that alarm bell. Follow us on Twitter at Ember Productions. Stay tuned for everything exciting we have coming up, and we will be back next week for more Miss Marvel talk.
And check the description for all of our info if you want to follow us.
That's very true. Bye, guys.